I had a drug addiction for 2 years and started finding my way towards the end of it and made a decision to go back and visit my old ex-fiance in California. I felt I needed to get away from York for a minute, and he was sort of a safe spot for me. So I went to visit him and I got pregnant. I came back. I obviously didn't know until about 6 weeks later, and I was devastated when I found out. Devastated. Wasn't really sure if I truly wanted to be with my ex-fiance again. And now I had this baby and I wasn't really sure what to do. So after a couple weeks of processing that I was pregnant, I had convinced myself that I was going to get an abortion. I had scheduled the appointment and tried not to share it with too many people because I didn't want to be talked out of it. I come from a very religious background, and I knew beyond a shadow of a doubt how everyone was going to feel about this decision I was going to make. And I think deep down inside, I didn't want to do it. I never wanted to do it. It never was something that I agreed with. But I was so cold to the fact that I was going to have a baby. I did reach out to one of my friends and shared with her what I was choosing to do, and she challenged me to watch videos on what really happens, and I did. It's pretty awful. But I was at a point that I just didn't feel worthy enough. And I watched the videos, and even though my heart hurt because of what actually happens, I was gonna move forward. And just throughout those couple weeks of waiting for my appointment, telling the father of the baby what I was gonna do and hearing the heartbreak in his voice, but also the support that I had from him at the same time. It seems in a situation like that you would want support, but it just didn't feel right. And I just didn't really know what that was. Now I do, but I didn't then. I ended up going to my appointment. I had my friend that I had shared with in the beginning that I was going to make that decision, I had her drive me. And we didn't say a word the entire way there until we got there and she asked if she could pray. And I said yes, because I had made my mind up. So getting to the clinic was a whole different set of emotions for me, because there were people rallied around the front of the building, chanting, just pretty much pleading for my baby's life. And the one thing I heard was, "You may not feel worthy, but they are." And I just remember hearing that out of all the noise that I heard. That was all I heard. And I went in, I sat for about 35 minutes and just thinking about what was gonna happen. Went back, the nurses took me back, and it was cold. Nothing felt right about it still. They were talking about plans that they had for the weekend and things that had happened, and it just felt so wrong that for what was about to happen, this is what you're talking about. It just blew my mind. So I sat there and I got the medicine. I was ready, and the last step they do before they take you in is do an ultrasound to check the baby's position. And she turned the monitor away from me, and it ticked me off. It made me angry. I didn't understand why she turned it. And I asked her, I said, can you please let me see? And she said, no, I don't think it's a really good idea. And I said, no, I want you to show me. And she was so annoyed that I had asked her to just let me see my baby. And it was then that I was just like, okay, now this really doesn't feel right. And she turned the monitor and I saw my baby. And I had one moment of incredible courage to get up. And it might not sound like courage to most people, because it doesn't seem like a courageous act when you're in a clinic getting ready to get rid of something that a lot of women dream about. It just didn't seem courageous. Looking back now, it was courageous for me because I was broken and I didn't feel worthy, but that baby was worthy. And I was gonna find out if I could be worthy for the baby. I didn't give the credit to God then. I gave the credit to seeing that little heart just start moving. You know, my baby saved me then. Walking out of that clinic, I just remember people saying things and I couldn't hear them, and I could hear my friend say, she didn't do it. And people started cheering. People who didn't even know me, they didn't know my story, they didn't know. They knew nothing, and they were cheering for my baby's life. And I was just like, okay, we got this. And it took 7.5 months after that day to really create a bond with my child, because as you can see now, this past week, I've had incredible guilt show its face again 5 years later. I have my son, and he's awesome. But I have this guilt that just creeped up, and it's just incredible to me. It's just incredible. The whole thing, I had people from California all the way to Pennsylvania praying for my son. And looking back at it now, I see God's hand every single step of the way to getting me out of a horrible relationship. I wanted God to change my circumstance so badly, because it was like, why me? Why are you going to give me this baby right now? And now I know why. He wasn't going to change my circumstance because he wanted my heart, and I wasn't going to give it to him. And that baby softened my heart so much and continues to soften my heart to this day. I mean, he literally is one of the joys of my life, and I know that God gave him to me for a reason. And if anybody knows my son Liam, you would understand exactly what I'm talking about, because he is so intuitive to everyone, but he's so intuitive to me. And I am so thankful that God gave him to me. Because when I put my mind to something, I typically do it. And it wasn't nothing was changing my heart. The videos, all the things that they say to do in preparation to make this decision, I challenged myself to do it, because I thought, if I'm gonna do it, own it, at least, you know? Nothing could change it except seeing that baby's heartbeat. And I'm eternally grateful for God giving me Liam so that he could get close to my heart. And now I feel like my journey has just started, and I'm pretty excited.